We're about to install the 2016 to 2021 Lexus LX570 Hamilton conversion kit for CarPlay and Android Auto. This full replacement screen, we've been working on it for a long time. It's backed by our industry-leading technology we've used in our other cars for years and years. We've recently developed this screen. It's going to give full Apple CarPlay and Android Auto functionality to this car with a brand new high-resolution touchscreen. As well, this kit will enable you to install any app from the Google Play Store directly onto it, making this system far more powerful than even the brand new Lexus vehicles. We're going to walk you through the full install today. We're also going to make two other videos. One is going to show you how to get audio and CarPlay in Android Auto set up the first time. The other will show you an overview of all the features of the kit, what makes it so special, and why it stands alone from the competition. We have North Carolina-based tech support here for you, 919-858-2890. You can chat with me or one of our team members who have installed these before, and we're here to take good care of you. Let's get going. We will begin inside the vehicle by shifting to neutral, applying the parking brake if it is not already, making sure the vehicle is on a very level surface. We recommend at least chalking two of the wheels, then turning it off, and now we'll go disconnect the battery. We're going to pop free some of these clips here. You can use a credit card or a tool, and you pop the inner piece up, and then you can take the entire clip out. A lot of these clips might be in bad shape after the years, but it doesn't matter too much. We'll set these clips in a safe spot, and then we'll have access to remove the negative cable on the battery. I'm not gonna take this shroud fully off. I'll just lift up like this, and then I'll be able to reach in. We're gonna jump in here, use a 10mm socket to loosen the negative battery cable. And then we'll just reach up on it, take it off the vehicle, and set it to the side. Inside the car, we're gonna start by removing these trim pieces on either side of the center console. We'll start with this one on the passenger side, reaching down from the bottom, popping it out, and across the glove box. We'll set this in the back. We'll do this one here on the driver's side that has the start-stop button attached. And we'll disconnect the start-stop button. Just press down on the tab and slide it out. Next, we'll open up the center console. We're going to remove these two panels that run along the side. You can do it with your fingers. You could also use a pry tool to get it started. There's one on the driver and one on the passenger side. We'll take both of these off and set them aside. With both of these removed, you can reach under and pop this piece of trim up free here. It has these four clips that held it in right here. Simply reach from the front and pop it up one by one. Don't apply too much pressure on one side so that you don't crease it. We'll set this in the back. Press down on the leather shift boot to separate it from the gear shift knob. We'll thread the gear shift knob counterclockwise off of the gear shift. Set this in a place where it will not get scratched. Go ahead and reach under the main center console cover and pop it up. You'll go up from the back. Then we recommend reaching in here and disconnecting these two thick wiring connectors at the back. One is white, one is black. And you'll be able to then lift the device almost vertically and take it out. Before we can remove this piece of trim, we need to remove this small piece of trim here. You can get under it with your fingers, simply pop it, kind of like a book this way. It'll come out from under the weather stripping. We'll set it aside. Once you have removed that side piece of trim over there, come onto the driver's side here around the gauge cluster and simply pop this trim panel loose. You reach into it and grab right on the seam where the plastic meets the gauge cluster trim. We're not going to take it fully out. We're just going to pop it loose like this. With the gauge cluster trim loose, you can reach inside this trim here, pull it out. We'll run along the dash and pull it out to include this air vent here. There's going to be a couple wiring harnesses, or at least one, to disconnect right here. We can take this whole assembly, set it somewhere very safe. We're going to remove these two 10mm bolts on top of the factory head unit. You're going to need a socket with a pretty long extension to get down in here. or a deep socket with a standard extension. Once you've got the bolt loose, simply grab it with your fingers, and take it out and set it somewhere safe. Once again, once you've got it loose, simply reach in there with your fingers, grab it, and take it out. We're going to take this trim panel off in front of the factory screen. Reach and gently pop it kind of up and out. We'll take it and we'll set it somewhere safe. We can now remove these two front bolts in front of the screen. These are 10mm. We need to remove this grate behind the screen here. The easiest way to do it is to reach both of your hands, put all of your fingernails between the seam that you can feel back here, and just slowly expand it and create a bigger and bigger gap until you can get all 8 of your main fingers in there, and then pop it and free it loose like this. We'll disconnect this one harness for the security light in the back. Just like that, we can put this in the back seat. With the rear speaker grate removed, as well as the bolts and the trim panel here, go ahead and reach in front of the screen and take it down at this kind of angle. You'll free it from behind. We can gently lift it up. We're going to disconnect 1, 2, 3. Now I'll take the screen out, set it somewhere very safe. We're gonna grip the factory head unit from either side and pop it free. Once you have it free, and it's helpful if you have somebody else here, but you can take this lower one, this factory trim box, we'll pop it free on either side. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and disconnect a few of the harnesses. There'll be 3, 1, 2, 3, behind the factory trim box. 1 black, 1 white, and then this gray one for the factory USB port. Push down on the tab. These are always the hardest from the Toyota and Lexus. We'll remove the trim box so that we don't scratch it. Then we've covered our gear shift here with this nice towel. We'll go ahead and rest the factory head unit down where we can access the wiring. Now you can really use a nice big towel. I've got an old sweatshirt here, and when we set this unit down, it's nice to have it on a piece of cloth just so you don't get any little scratches, especially if you have the piano black trim. Down here, we're going to go ahead and disconnect 2 wires. This is the main power wire here. We refer to this as the main head unit power wire. It's got this gray kind of bar. It's a unique Toyota Lexus thing. There's a tab in here that you can press. You could also get it from a screwdriver and you could press it in here. But what you do is you press this tab, then you reach around with your other 2 fingers. You open it up just like this. If you have trouble with it, you can press the tab, you can get a screwdriver, and you can pry it like that. But just do it in a manner that you don't slip and hurt your fingers. So I like to only use my fingers when possible. We'll take this one out. Now, there's 1 wire here we're not going to touch. This one here. This is the audio wire. So we go main, skip, audio. Push down the tab, wiggle this one, take it out. I'm going to give you an overview of the wiring for the new screen before we do it. We have this huge harness here. This is the main Hamilton harness. It's not as complicated as it looks, and we'll go top to bottom. This label monitor power, this is going to be the main power wire for the new screen. This pink wire labeled reverse is not going to be used. We have 2 wires here. One is labeled speaker, one is labeled OEM microphone. Our system will use your OEM mic, and this wire is going to connect to another Hamilton harness. I'll show you in just a second. This one labeled speaker will connect to this little speaker that we include. This is optional, you don't have to use it, but it's a really cool feature. And what it does, it allows the Hamilton system to mix navigation sounds into your factory radio channels. So let's say you want to listen to factory FM or factory Sirius XM radio, and you want navigation from Waze and CarPlay to go through. That's what this one will do. Making our way down the harness here, you're going to have a huge wire, and that resembles the main power wire back here. The Hamilton male will go into the back of the radio. The Hamilton female will accept the factory male. We have this one here labeled 4HU audio. That means 4 head unit audio. And this one is going to accept over here the factory male, and the Hamilton male will go into the back of the head unit. Coming down here, we have a few more wires. This little guy here is going to plug into our 360 box and be the power for our 360 box. This one labeled 360 control, it's a gray wire, is going to plug into another Hamilton harness. I'll show you in just a second. This one labeled camera is going to plug into the other Hamilton harness also, that I'll show you in just a second. This one here labeled monitor, the Hamilton female will accept the factory male. The Hamilton male will be unused. And by the way, guys, we're going to have a full diagram in every order that will show you this. So you'll get a complete written version of this so you can follow along. This one labeled only for mouse is the final one from the main harness. You'll see it's very similar to one labeled only for touchpad that's taped off. You're not going to use only for touchpad. This car has a mouse, so we'll use mouse. We use this same harness for some of our cars with touchpads, so that's why we'll tape it off for you, and that way there you don't need to worry about it. This one only for mouse, we're going to feed it down under into the center console, and we're going to tap into the factory mouse. So that is it for the main Hamilton harness. This is the Hamilton accessory harness. When I told you that some of the plugs from the main Hamilton harness will tag into another Hamilton harness, this is the one I was talking about. This one here, the small tan, is going to plug into the back of the new screen. This harness will contain your USB for wired CarPlay and wired Android Auto. This gray wire here, labeled 360 control, is going to tag into that 360 control wire from the main Hamilton harness. We're not going to use AV in. Camera is going to grab into camera from the main Hamilton harness. UART will not be used. Microphone is going to grab into that OEM mic from the main Hamilton harness. Now we're almost done. This car has 360 cameras. Most of these 570s will. We're going to plug the white and the blue from the back of the factory screen in here. Monitor GVIF. We're going to have this blue from Hamilton plug in here, and this light blue will go into the back of the new Hamilton screen. And the power wire I showed you from that main Hamilton harness, right here, will plug into this one. Finally, we have a 4G antenna and a GPS antenna. Both of these will connect to the back of the new Hamilton screen. All right, let's get going. In preparation of getting the two connectors on top, we're feeding a chase wire down through here. And then you could do this with an old phone charger. I'm going to use this pry tool. You could use a pair of pliers or even a plastic fork. And bring it on down. Just like that. You can see that was not the most convenient thing, but now we've got this nice wire that runs through here. It's going to give us a chase wire. We'll be able to pull our wires easily up. I'm going to put a little bit of tape, like we mentioned here and here, just to make sure these don't come apart. We need to get these three wires, this female socket labeled monitor, and these two out of this socket here, so that we can connect them to the new screen. On your chase wire, we're going to take this wire and we're going to tie it first around this bundle of wires with a simple pretzel knot. Now to hold this in place, I'm going to apply 2 zip ties right here. You can also feed it manually. You don't have to do this whole fancy contraption, but this is what I have found to be the easiest method. We'll apply one here. And we'll do another now here. Now make sure you have these both as tight as they possibly can be. Now we'll guide with one hand. This is not a particularly pleasant process. If you find it easier, you can take off these screws, disconnect this connector, and pop your speaker out here so that you have a bit more room. These are the wires we wanted out here. And just like that, we have got them through. You can see how my guide wire did make this unpleasant process just a little bit easier. Now we've got them through, and we can go ahead and cut these zip ties. We'll leave these sticking out up here. We're now going to remove these bolts holding this speaker on up top here, and this will create room for us to add the 360 box. These are two 10 millimeters. With these removed, we can lift up here, disconnect this guy. Press down on this tab, we'll disconnect this speaker. Now you might find it easier to do this before you take these wires out. You can pull at a better angle. This is the power wire for the 360 box. We didn't have really the room to run it all up with these cables, so what I do, I'm gonna take it up through here. Then I'm just gonna slide it around, come on top of this vent. And then I'm gonna go through this little channel here with this one. Press it up on into here, reach around and grab it, pull it back into here. Let's go ahead and connect that 360 box. We're gonna take the blue and white square wires from the back of the factory screen. They'll slide back here under the speaker. We'll go 1, 2, 360 power wire, 3. We'll take this new monitor GVIF, royal blue, 4. This guy's gonna rest right back under here. We'll pop this out. This will be the only square looking wire going into the back of the new screen. 2 connections behind the factory head unit. This big main head unit power wire is gonna come into ours. Make sure it clicks down. We'll plug ours into the back of the head unit here. Then this one labeled HU audio. We'll take this one labeled HU audio. We're gonna grab the factory audio wire that was plugged in here. Plug it into ours. And the Hamilton male will go into the back of your head unit. We now need to take this one labeled only for mouse. We need to run it all the way down below these plastic cross members and get it into the center console. Now, getting the only for mouse and only for touchpad wire from up here down below this plastic cross member, here's the easiest way to do it. Pop this trim piece out so you can make some room, and then you can negotiate these 2 pieces down, only for mouse and only for touchpad. It's relatively easy to feed them through this slot in the side right here. You can see here's the channel you're going for, from here to here. And you can touch your 2 fingers together, okay? Once you have it out here, pull as much slack as you can from up top. Then pop this trim panel out, and we'll pull the wires in. Then we'll reconnect this trim panel. And just like that, we've got the wires right where we need them to be. The Hamilton system will come with wireless and wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay built in. You don't have to have the USB if you don't want it, but if you want wired CarPlay or wired Android Auto, we'll kind of take the USB on the same path. And this customer wanted his down right here where he could access it easily by his footwell on the driver's side. So I'm feeding and pulling, and I'm just gonna have the USB pop out right here below the trim panel. You have a couple options. You could, with a small hole, put the USB in the trim box right here below your factory head unit. You can also kind of pop the trim box, the back of it off, and you can put it in there. We show that in some of our other videos. You can reach out and ask us if you want to talk about that. You could also put it on the passenger side. You have a few different options of different places, but this customer wants it right here. And we've briefly set the factory head unit up into its socket just lightly so that we can connect the trim box down here. We're gonna reconnect the 3 wires we removed, this white one, this gray one. And then we have this kind of black gray one up on top here. Now we'll take the trim box, we'll line it back up in its sockets, and we'll snap it into place. You shouldn't have much resistance snapping that into place. If you do, you've got a wire blocking it, and you should move your wiring around a little bit. Last thing I need to connect before we can reinstall the head unit is the speaker. We'll just connect that and we'll set it back in here. You don't need to worry too much about where it goes. Anywhere back in here will be just fine. Now we can lift the head unit up, start kind of organizing your wires. The main power wire, that big chunky one, is the only one that can sometimes kind of keep you from being able to fit it back in. So if you feel any sort of resistance, just pop it open. Make sure your wires aren't in the way. Kind of press those wires down, then line it back up onto its sockets. Snap it firmly into place on the left and right side. We will, of course, use the bolts to bolt it back in, but it should go in and hold on its own without those bolts. Otherwise, it's a sign that you've got wires in the way. So it should hold fully with just the clips. We're going to go ahead and remove this white wire here from the mouse. I'm on the bottom of the center console cover. And we will connect the factory wire, the male that was in the mouse, to the Hamilton female, labeled only for mouse. We're going to connect the Hamilton male back into the mouse. Make sure it clips into place. Now we'll take this whole assembly, we're going to have to dive it straight down almost. Make sure that you negotiate this wire around the front of the gear shift. And then as we start to close it, we'll reconnect the white and black wires on the back here. Then negotiate the shift boot back onto the gear shift knob. Gently lower it, supporting it as you do, back into place, and snap it in firmly. Now we'll leave it like this. We're not going to put these trim panels on because we're not done yet. We got to get the new screen in. We need to transfer these two brackets. They each have 3 Phillips head screws from the back of the factory screen to the new screen. I've rested them gently here on my lap where they won't get scratched. I'm just going to take these screws off. We have been working very hard for some time on this screen, getting tooling that is almost identical to the factory, and our internals are superior to any other product on the market. We have a Qualcomm processor in here that is very high quality. We buy American spec Qualcomm chips. Other companies, they cheap out and they buy the Chinese version or even knockoff chips. We'll transfer these brackets one at a time. One of the things, if you compare the Hamilton systems to other systems on the market, that is very evident of the difference in our quality is the level of connectors we use on the back. The cheaper style systems will use very low-end connectors that have low-end wiring harnesses. They can fail over time, pins can become loose, and that will lead to inconsistent operation. So we design ours. If you feel our connectors, they're virtually indistinguishable from the factory connectors. Same story with our wiring harnesses compared to cheaper products on the market. And frankly, not even cheaper products, simply other products on the market made by worse manufacturers. Our wiring harnesses will feel identical to the Toyota ones, the Toyota Lexus ones, whereas the cheaper ones have wiring that feels a lot less sophisticated. It's not covered in shrouding. And once again, that wiring can fail over time. Those pins can become loose. Transferring the other bracket now. And we'll tighten these screws. You don't need to go too tight on them. Just get them snugged down. These screws are not subjected really to any force in the vehicle, so there's no sense in cranking them too tight. All right, just like that, we've got the brackets transferred. I'm gonna cut these zip ties from my chase wire. Be careful not to cut your wire underneath. And with the zip ties cut, we will remove the red chase wire, and now we can install the new screen. We're gonna take this white wire here and reconnect it to the Mark Levinson speaker. With the wire reconnected, we'll take the speaker, reposition it with those locator tabs. Make sure that your box under here is situated with enough room. You can set the speaker back in its place. We'll reinstall the two screws. We will tighten these screws back into place. Be aware we're putting metal screws into plastic, so there's no need to crank them on too tight. We'll simply get them snugged down. I have the 4G and GPS antennas, blue and purple, blue to blue, purple to purple. And we'll now take the screen. I'm going to feed these antennas simply through here into the cavity. They're plenty strong. It doesn't matter where you put them. They don't need to go anywhere special. We'll put this blue square wire for the video signal here. We'll connect the black monitor wire to the Hamilton female. The Hamilton male down here will be unused. Make sure that the pink one we have pre-assembled from the factory is connected. And then we will connect, as we put the screen into its place, these final two wires. Tan will go right here into the long tan slot. The shorter tan will go into the middle slot, and this far away little tiny tan slot will be unused. With all the wiring connected, tucked back into the socket, we'll line up the screen here and set it back on its brackets. We can now reinstall the bolts. With the wires reconnected, we have all the wires coming only out of that primary socket. We'll go ahead and put the bolts back in. There's going to be a 10mm on either side of the factory display. With the wires all coming out of that primary socket, we'll reinstall both of these 10mm bolts, holding the new display in place. You don't need to over-tighten them. Go ahead and reconnect the security light on top of the speaker trim panel here. We'll line it up into place, and we'll pop it back into its socket. Make sure all of the clips snap in and it fits very flush. Now we'll go ahead and reconnect the 10mm bolts on either side of the factory head unit. Tighten them down, but don't over tighten them. Reinstalling the factory head unit, we will take the piece of trim that goes under the screen. We'll use the same one, and we'll snap it back into place. Now align the side trim panel back under the weather stripping. You may need to lift the weather stripping over this panel. Let's try that again. Next, take the large air vent assembly, reconnect the harness that we disconnected, line it up into its socket, and snap it into place across the length of the dash. We can then take the gauge cluster trim, negotiate it back into place, and snap it down. Next, we will reinstall these two leather covered trim panels on either side of the center console. They lock into place like this. And we'll do this one as well. With those two installed, we'll take this small plastic piece, line up the four clips, and snap it into place. We'll take this one that runs along the length of the glove box, and snap it into place. These reinstalled, we'll take the side trim panel and snap it back into place. We'll thread the gear shift back into place and reconnect the shift boot. And just like that, the installation is complete. We have this awesome new Hamilton touchscreen in our LX570 here. We'll show you in another video through all the features of this great kit. Don't forget to reconnect the negative battery cable and put the little clips back in place, holding your trim panel down. Of course, if you need any help, we are here for you. 919-858-2890. Again, 919-858-2890, and our North Carolina-based tech support team will take good care of you. We'll see you in the next one.